I love our rock music.
Every time, doesn't it?
It's just great music. I love it.
Wow, what a month we have had. We are at the end of March. We are wrapping up our third full month of the year of keeping and sticking on topic. We're kind of nailing this. I think
thank you for
we're good
good themes that are really, I mean, Dara, this last month's series of discussions on groomer certification programs and so on has just been like, I just am so glad that people on our Facebook page, the Pet Pro Educators, and on Groomer's Guide, my page, and on your page, the Whole Pet Academy, and on Michelle's page,
and the Oily Groomer,
All Things Paw, and Melissa Contadiner's page, which is the Oily Groomer. All of us in our Facebook groups have the recordings of all of these. People should share them widely because it's the best explanation. People can compare shop what programs that, what are the pros and cons. So you've really done a good thing here. You are truly an educator. That's why when I first met you a couple of years ago at Intergroom, and I knew about your school, and I just, as a retired school teacher, I just really simpatico with you. You're really bringing education to the industry, and it's wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that, and I love having you as part of the team.
I feel very honored to be here.
So, well, I'm going to welcome everybody to the Groomers Cut tonight, and it's just going to be Jennifer and I this evening. We will be missing Michelle and Melissa. They have some other things going on, and we both know everyone is so busy. So thank you for joining us tonight, Jennifer. And I didn't want to, this would be a tough one to do alone. But for all of those new turning in, please grant StreamYard permission. If you're watching, we are live on 10 different platforms this evening. So please give them permission so we can see your name in our chat. We will keep up with all the chats going on and let you know, because you might not see the questions that are coming our way. I'm sorry, this is not the best outfit for tonight, and it keeps
Actually, I think you look sparkly spectacular.
Well, thanks. It's kind of bothering me tonight, but I'll try not to fidget.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. So we are going to, Jennifer and I are going to recap what we have done this whole month, which is we have hosted the top organizations that we could. We did reach out to some others that were unable to attend or get back in touch with us. So we did reach out to others, but the ones that jumped in, we talked to the WPA, who's the World Pet Organization. Chris Berry was on our first
Pet Association. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Then we had the ISCC, which is the International Society of Canine Cosmetologists. That was Pam Lawrence from Texas. Then we talked to the NDGAA, National Dog Groomers
Association of
America. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wendy
that
Booth.
was Wendy Booth. Last week, we hosted the IPG, International Professional Groomers, and they are incorporated, and that was Linda Easton. Yes. So now, Jennifer, I'm going to have you jump in. You're going to go ahead and tell us. We're going to talk a little bit about the AKC, and then we will recap and talk about, so anyone who's watching, please put your questions out there. We will answer them to our fullest, but know that we will be once again posting everybody's websites that were on here as a live host with us, or a live guest with us for their organizations. So I'll let you go.
So first of all, for this final show this evening, we had hoped to get Susan Scholar, who is been an amazing presence in the grooming industry and a friend of mine and a very great person. She's been a longtime AKC delegate. Now, for those of you that are watching this, I'm going to assume as dog professionals, you all know what the AKC is, the American Kennel Club. It is dogs in America. I mean, it's the institution. And every country in the world has a version of the AKC. And maybe it's the CKC in Canada, the Canadian Kennel Club, or it's the, they have one in the United Kingdom, and they have them in France, and so on. So the international agency is the FCI, Fédération Cinelogic Internationale, which is headquartered in Belgium, and that is the. Yeah, it is. It's I think it's in Belgian, but it's like French. So FCI is the international keeper of the genetic definition of dog breeds. And every country has their own national set of standards. And this is all based on genetics, pedigrees, record keeping, science. There's a whole lot to the whole science and history of dogs. And as everybody knows that's taken any of my classes, I'm a huge fan of this. I'm a retired school teacher. And so the history and the science stuff I'm just totally geeking out about dog history and dog science. And so it's really an important organization. The American Kennel Club is a huge network of dog people in the United States, judges and breeders and fanciers and handlers and sports people. And there's so many different ramifications of what the AKC does. They do things not just for purebred dogs. They are not only for purebred dogs.
Right. Yeah.
You can, with a mixed breed dog, you can do everything in AKC except one thing, and that's the confirmation. The beauty contest, if you will, where they are judging for breeding of the breeds. But there are a zillion other very popular obedience, rally, agility, dock diving, dance,
barn hunt,
earth dogs, field trials, all of the working stuff.
Lure coursing.
And they do service dog things, like you can get Canine Good Citizen awards, and they do therapy stuff, and they do stuff that helps law enforcement and that helps scientific research. And it's just an enormously wonderful organization, the American Kennel Club. And so the fact that Susan Scholar, who gets a lot of credit for actually getting them as an AKC judge and longtime multiple breeder and handler and delegate. She's one of, I think, 700 people that the delegates, sort of the Congress that runs the AKC. So a very important person for her to also be a groomer who was interested in getting the AKC to connect to the grooming industry. I think we will forever be very grateful to several people, not just Susan, but several of the people who've been working over the years to get the American Kennel Club to notice us more as an industry. So in any case, the AKC SAFE program, which stands for Safety, Assurance, Fundamentals, Education, they developed that in conjunction with Susan and some other people to create a certificated course that groomers could take and show, and have it be brought to us by, an organization such as the AKC, which is
a recognized organization.
Yes, and
by pet parents.
And the best part about it is, honestly, here's the best part about it. And you can go to the akc.org website, American Kennel Club, akc.org. It is actually one of the largest websites in the world. It's not just the AKC, because their computer, their server, they actually host all of the Chinese dog registrations too, and some other stuff. They're like one of the world's largest servers, which is a little bit of trivia I didn't know. And the American Kennel Club has created a new thing in the more recent years of, the internet getting better and better and becoming a bigger part of our economy. They've created something called the Akc Marketplace. And they also have the AKC College, which is where you'll find all of the stuff about their certificated courses. Yeah. But like, for example, I've got not only the AKC Safe Salon and the AKC Safe Groomer certificate, I also have an AKC Poodle certificate. Now, we're going to talk about this, you and I, in a minute here, Dara, when we finish introducing the AKC SAFE program. But it's a really good opportunity for us to take this whole month of programs and say, what's the difference between being a certified groomer, going through the big three, IPG, NDGAA, or ISCC, the only games in town when it comes to being a certified groomer.
Right.
And then you have these certificated courses where you get a certificate for attending a course that's maybe more substantive, more academic. And there's usually a little bit of a test at the end. And the AKC SAFE course, you're going to take an all-day class. So it's a chunk of time. And you're going to get, a lot of stuff in the AKC SAFE Salon. You're going to get things about, OSHA regulations and sanitation and, like fire escape protocols and, things like that. Really valuable to me when I designed my salon. I think I was the first AKC SAFE salon in the Chicago area. And it was really helpful to me in terms of, because I have a very complicated space and it's pretty large and it goes way back and to the side and down, under and around. And so it like the AKC SAFE program was really great for me to get fire escape stuff, routes posted, what, like where I need to hang extra leashes, and that kind of stuff. It's a great class. It's got a lot of good information in it. So, and then at the end, you take a little test and then you get this AKC SAFE certificate. But here's the best part. On their Akc Marketplace website, the whole huge part of their, where they, you can buy things that are dog related. There is a find a breeder section where you can find puppies of certain breeds and you can find the parent clubs of all the kennel clubs. But you can also, there's a new section, thanks to Susan Scholler and some other wonderful people working this relationship with the AKC. We groomers have a find a groomer section of the American Kennel Club's website. Wow. Okay, so that's a really great asset. I have actually gotten some clients. People said, I went on Find a Groomer, and because I am AKC SAFE certified, I am on free page listing on the AKC Marketplace Find a Groomer page. So if you get that AKC certificate, you are actually listed on their national website. And so that's a really great thing that they've done. They're
it's a good marketing tool.
Yeah, they're really trying to help build the importance of the industry. So,
oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, Mindy is joining in there, and she was saying that she has all of those, and there's an AKC hand strip as well. So definitely going to have to look more into it because I hadn't seen those other ones. I think
and
Lori, if she's watching, has some. Oh, Chris does teach.
Chris Berry, who's also a dog show person like I am, only she's way more into it than, I'm a dabbler in dog show, just dabbled. Because I've just had too much of a life to be immersed in it as in depth as some people do. But Chris Berry has been very big in wire-haired Vizslas over the years, and she actually teaches an AKC SAFE handling class that is also a certificate that you receive from AKC. So we have a lot of people. Barkley does certificate classes. AKC does certificate classes. And I think the most important thing you and I can do tonight, Dara, as we wrap up this month-long feature about all of the certifications and credentials. And we began with not a certificate, but a credential, which is from the World Pet Association that Chris Berry talked to us about. Pam Lauritsen told us about the ISCC. Linda Easton with the IPG, and Wendy Booth with NDGAA. And you and I are going to talk about each of those tonight. But I think that it's really important for people to understand the difference. Chris Berry and the WPA people were actually faced with a bit of a conundrum about what word to call this PGC, this Pet Grooming Credential test that we talked about several weeks ago. that is
and
going
that's
to
what
be
started this all was why we jumped onto this, because of the terminology that we have been talking about now for easily I'm going to say and before that, though, we've been here on the Pet Pro Educators. We have been talking about this and the definitions since September. I believe we started these conversations for us as a group in September, and then Michelle wrote an article on it for Barkley. And that was in Groomer to Groomer, I believe in October.
Yes, she wrote a really good one that was actually contained dictionary definitions of the differences between credential, certificated, certified,
all of those terms.
A diploma, which is what your program gives. The whole Pet Academy gives a diploma that is actually the only state recognized document. So I do want to break those all down and say that the world, let's just start with week 1, 4 weeks ago when we started this. And we started with Chris Berry and the World Pet Association's new program that is starting this year, which is just stunning, which is the PGC, the Pet Groomer Certification. Sorry, I knew I'd say it wrong. Pet Groomer Credential, okay?
Credential,
It is the PGC, Pet Grooming Credential, is a test. It's a written test, multiple choice. It's a standardized test, and it will be, drum roll please, the only actually federally recognized legitimate credential in the country.
Yes.
And it will be that because it is actually going through the national educational standardization protocols that you have to do in order to do testing that is recognized federally as a credential. So, what you have is a state recognized diploma for a school. So I think
it's different.
And I have to say, I get very frustrated as somebody who loves this industry so much. I get frustrated at grooming schools, and I'm about ready to open another one myself. I had one a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't maintain everything, so I closed it. But I'm getting ready to, with Lisa Herbold, another CMG in the Chicago area. We are going to be opening a grooming school, the Illinois Academy of Pet Grooming, and we are working in alliances with you and others. We are going to be, hopefully, like you, a state recognized school. So one of the things that is so important, Dara, about what you have done is you have helped to educate people about what a state recognized school, and you have, am I right, done a ton of work to get that credential.
Yes.
Give us an example of some of the things that you have to do with the state of New Hampshire in order to be able to issue a diploma that is state recognized.
So before anything even starts, I had heavy inspections. The entire shop, everything, when you open yourself up that way, it becomes all about the students, and everything, your entire business model has to change. You have to know you're going from being
a grooming shop.
Yep, being a grooming shop to a actual educational platform. And so everything changes. Your scope, how you talk to customers, your website, everything that I do, everything that I put out there is the state is constantly watching it and monitoring it. I lost my Facebook page for a while and was getting some major backlash from the state with that. Was, you're not updating, you haven't posted in a while, you need this going, and you can't lose this page. So they're constantly watching. Plus, we're also military approved with the GI Bill for veterans.
Is that the VA? Is that VA funding approved?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I used to teach at a school in Chicago that was VA funding approved, which is great for a school to have, because once you get that approval, then you get the financing that veterans can use to come to your school.
or active military, or their wives, or their children, but that is a whole other job. So that is a completely, I'm basically two offices. We'll have the military office, and then we have the regular office. So it's got to be everything is two separate paperworks, two separate. But
every class that you offer has to be state approved. The curriculum is state approved. Your state board of education issues that credential. I went through this in Illinois.
All of our instructors are subject to, well, you submitted in everything to me for being an approved instructor here in New Hampshire. So it's a big deal. A lot of work on top of your fees, on top of your licensing.
People should really pay attention to, if they're going to go to a grooming school, they need to find out if it's really state credential. If it's
state
got
credential,
the state It's actually not, the word is not accredited.
No, that accreditation is different.
Term. Yeah. And as my understanding, the only accredited grooming school that is federally accredited, which means that they can get FAFSA, which is that financial aid thing that federal, you can get federal student loans. But to go through that, I think only Merrifield Academy has had that.
There's one other in Florida, a brand new school that I believe has it as well.
It's like a 2-year process to become federally accredited, so you can have the FAFSA.
24
it's a
months
very big deal.
And about $40,000-$50,000.
And you also have to agree to hire a full-time administrator of the student loan financing department. So you actually have to put a person on your grooming school staff full-time that's supposed to get a fixed salary of like $57,000 a year or something like that.
Yes.
That will administer.
All they do.
Yep. And they just administer FAFSA paperwork. So it's hard.
Major training every year.
So when people look at grooming schools, and there's a lot of fly-by-night schools that'll just open up and say that they're schools, but they're not state approved. And there is so much misrepresentation in our industry. It really scares me. But find out if they really are state approved by calling the State Board of Education, not asking the school
themselves. Not necessarily the State Board of Education, because not all states are career schools licensed under the Department of Education.
Well,
so you have to know your state. It's very tough. Actually, Chris Pearson and I have been back and forth with looking for her in Wisconsin. And they run you through hoops to even try to find out where to go to get your licensing in some states.
We actually had a school in Illinois that I used to teach at, the Academy of Dog Grooming Arts in Arlington Heights, that was shut down for fraud by the Illinois Attorney General because they were representing that they were state licensed, and they had already years ago left that license lapse, and they were actually shut down by the Attorney General with the suits and the law enforcement guys in the suits that showed up with the paper boxes and shut them all down. You got
to think about it in terms of, if you're paying for education and you're putting out this a lot of money to get something, you want to make sure that you're getting the proper. Look at the instructors. Look at what kind of instructors and who is teaching. I mean, we've come a long way in the last couple of years ourselves, with the I don't want to say the class, but you've got to have the right people in place. Even before our team is solidifying on the floor so much more now, and just having, I know, Mindy comes in, hi Mindy, on a regular basis and teaches.
I can't wait till I can come in.
Just having Michelle here and Melissa, it's so nice to have this diversity for students. And I want to say more of an exclusivity. Is that even a word, or did I just make that up?
Exclusivity, absolutely.
So having that, and just being able to say, look, as a school, I am offering these opportunities to our graduates and to our students right now that they have the opportunity to work with some of the top groomers in the world as part of their training.
So what they get from you is an actual state recognized diploma. So let's just create these baskets so people understand the summary of all of these programs that we've talked about. So basket number 1 is we've got schools that are state recognized, and there are some that are not. Make sure you find out. There are some grooming schools that will advertise, and mostly it's your online schools, that will add like ABC and things like that. They'll advertise, get certified, become a certified groomer. And actually, that's not what they're offering. No. They are offering you at best a diploma from a school, a vocational school. And, in the educational world, those 2 tracks, there's the academic track and there's the vocational track. Yeah. Once you finish high school, most people will go to one or the other. They either are going to learn a trade and a skill, or they're going to go on and do college and do master's degrees or law school or their med school or whatever. So there's the academic track and there's the vocational track. And in the vocational world, a diploma from a real state recognized school is just that. It's a diploma from a school. It's not being a certified groomer. No. So anybody who buys into that false advertising, you can be a certified groomer.
That, a play on words.
Yes.
They use it as a play on words.
It's a lie, basically, but let's just say that it's born out of the fact that many of the people that are running grooming schools for money, their primary interest is money. They are not, maybe they love dogs and they want to do, something good, but, there are some that are more unscrupulous, that are just trying to collect money from people and really don't offer them anything. Even you couldn't necessarily go over to IPG and pass, the certified professional groomer course that Linda Easton offers or something like that. So it's real important that people understand that if a school tells you you're going to be a certified groomer for going to school there, that is not accurate by the way our industry defines certified.
Right.
Okay. Our industry defines certified as a peer-reviewed practical test where you are actually going to groom a dog in front of peer evaluators who are themselves masters, and they will evaluate your actual physical grooming skill. So that's another bucket, is that the actual physical grooming skills, your hands on a dog with scissors and clippers and hand strippers and all of that, physically grooming a dog for a master evaluator who is actually that's where you're going to become a certified groomer. And that's primarily done only through these the big 3, NDGAA, ISCC, and IPG. And they all have, you heard the representatives from all 3 of them. There's some differences. I can summarize if you wish.
We were going to talk about that. We can go briefly. And I think that a lot of it came down to their structure. Right. If we start with the ISCC, they go from the ground up with cosmetology or with their Dermatech program. And then you go through and do your breed. You start, I believe the way it sounded was you do your Dermatech, then you get your pet, and then you go on to the master level. So they have the 3 levels, and part of the master level is their educational level as well. So their master groomers are also training and becoming, or teachers, they're certifiers as well, and doing the testing.
And one of the things that I think we can do to characterize the differences, the similarity between the big 3, IPG, ISCC, and NDGAA, they're all decades old. People need to know that the roots and the history, the credentialing, the depth of the integrity of those those three organizations has been tested and tested and survived and survived. So they are universally accepted because they've all been around for decades.
Going back to the 70s, aren't we?
Yes, going back to the 70s in the case of NDGAA and the origins of ISCC, which originally was called PPGC.
Yeah.
And then the birth in the 80s of IPG, and because of the desire to try to, keep the not-for-profit model that PPGC had been, but then, so there was some journeying there. But for the most part, those agencies, all three of them, IPG, NDGAA, and ISCC, have been around for decades, and they have certified probably thousands and thousands of groomers, and they are all universally recognized. That certified master groomer thing, that's where you're going to get those, is from those three. Some of the differences that we heard over the last few weeks are that IPG is doing significantly, made that adaptation first and fast to online certification because of the pandemic, and has really mastered it and has a fantastic offering in that regard. Also, IPG has more levels, entry levels of, it's like ISCC, you can get Dermatech, or you can, with ISCC, you can
the salon sanitation, the salon safety.
And with IPG, they have all of these special other courses, because they're not just about your grooming. They have a first aid and a CPR, because Linda's husband's a doctor, and all of these things. So we have wonderful diversity of program offerings. And then ISCC is kind of more known for being, in terms of just the academic heft of it. I think IPG is considered more accessible to a wider variety of people, in terms of they're not trying to make you study science for a year like you would take a college class. To me, I consider IPG the materials are extremely helpful and extremely accessible, and Linda and Jim make it very, very clear to walk through at whatever level you can get to. ISCC is more academically detailed. It's a lot more science, a lot more. It's kind of the master's degree to like if IPG is the college degree, ISCC to me is like, in terms of the materials, it's just the master's degree. It's way, even though, CMG is a title they all give. And then to me, the third group, NDGAA, which is the oldest of them, NDGAA is the one that offers the most in terms of this preparatory class. You got to take this preparatory class in person, but they're still doing everything in person. Yeah, all of their preparatory classes are in person. All of their testing are in person. They have a very impressive bank of certifiers. Some of the top groomers in the country are certifiers with NDGAA, but they have not, as ISCC and IPG have done, they have not gone to online certification. Right. So there's definite differences, and I'm really glad that we have featured those three so people can compare.
Now, can you say feasibly that NDGAA is definitely more focused on the cuts and styles?
Yes.
Yeah, whereas they don't have the academia that the other two organizations offer.
I would agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah, they're much more focused on the breed standard interpretation, which is there in the IPG and the ISCC certifications, but there is so much more to those other programs. Yes,
and
I agree.
They are just, whereas ISCC and IPG both also have salon. So you can become a salon organization or a salon facility as a member.
So Kim is asking in our chat room, do we believe that there would be ever a time that these groups would come together to form one organization? I don't think so. Would they all survive? For example, Jeff Reynolds has been running, his father started NDGAA and now he's running it, and he's got a few gray hairs. Pam Lauritsen has been running, ISCC, and she's older than I am, and I'm in my mid 60s. So, because she was, my great master teacher. So,
diversity is good for the industry, because there are so many of us. I mean, and we say it every week, where the groomers are artists by nature, and their palette is, or their canvas is, the dogs. And so having these options for groomers to be able to choose their right path, it doesn't make anybody wrong. It just makes each individual more diversified. It gives the general public something more diversified. If you want to be, you can just go through and become a certified professional groomer, and you don't have to even be a master groomer for the IPG. And that's lovely. That is a wonderful option for those who don't have the wish to excel. But what they offer and what they bring is that you still have to maintain your membership to maintain your credentials, which means you still have to do continuing education. So if your customers are looking for something and you go, I'm not a master groomer. I don't do show trims. That's not how I tick. But I have an option to go to the IPG and get a professional certification through them. So they're not leaving anybody out.
Yeah, and Cindy and Mindy both affirmed that it's good to have the diversity of choices, because there are differences between the big three certification programs. So now that I think that now that we've set aside that there are these big three, they have some similarities and some differences. The similarity that the three, ISCC, NDGAA, and IPG, have is that they all require you to physically groom a dog and to be evaluated by master peers. So, but there are many differences in terms of IPG has more, I think, diversity of offerings and is more accessible. ISCC is a much more academically, significant learning experience, and many people consider, the pinnacle of what Pam has created. And then there is NDGAA, which has this, incredible membership piece to it, and the great emphasis on style and breed interpretation and so on. So they're all different, and they all have great things to offer. So that's certification. That's being a certified groomer, right? Okay, so we've got school diplomas, which that do not make you a certified groomer in our industry. They give you a diploma from a school that hopefully is legal and state recognized, and not all of them are honest about that. People caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, okay, on the schools. Do your homework, find out about how people like Dara, really legitimately are, valid in their school. And then we had Chris Berry with this World Pet Association credential, and they deliberately called it a credential and not a certification, because they knew it was not going to be a hands-on test. It was going to be a written test, a standardized test, like what you took in high school, the ACT, the SAT, the GRE, the MCATs, the LSATs, all those tests that you take, standardized tests. So here is where,
and I'm going to jump in, because Gina said exactly what the WPA is a basic skills and knowledge standards test.
Yes, it's knowledge, but it's a baseline of knowledge. So what the World Pet Association, and just to review for those folks that haven't seen that first week with Chris, the World Pet Association is a huge not-for-profit organization, the largest in our industry. It's not-for-profit, and it does these good works programs where they do things to help pets, to help the pet industry. Things like making sure that turtles have safe places to breed, and that that there's humane breeding programs, and they do a lot of good works just environmentally and in terms of pet care. They some years ago, under the amazing leadership of Judy Breton and now Chris Berry, they recognized that grooming is an important part of the pet industry, and we're concerned, I think is a nice way to put it, as I have been as an educator. I'm a retired high school history teacher. I've taught college and high school for 3 decades. I have 2 master's degrees, one in history and one in education. And I've been a teacher all my life. And it does concern me that we don't have any regulation to speak of in our industry. Literally, the few things we have are internally recognized only things. These 3, IPG, NDGAA, and ISCC's hands-on testing. Then we have, like you, Dara, we have schools that are state certified, the good schools that are really state credentialed. And now, thanks to WPA, we're going to finally have a federally recognized, not accredited, that's the wrong word.
Credential test.
Federally legitimate. It's going to have a legal basis and a basis as a real standardized test. So what do you have to do to go through to create a standardized test?
Well, and know this about that is this is going back to your fundamentals. This is what should be taught across the board at schools. The bare minimum. This is the minimum that they're setting for standards. Everybody else has risen above that. So even the schools, we want to be able to say our students can go out and pass that like that. It should be.
They should. And what the WPA did with Chris's leadership, they identified 6 domain areas that all groomers have in common, no matter where they groom, whether they're mobile, in a salon, in a corporate, in their home, they're doing house call, whatever. Wherever you're grooming, however you're grooming, you're doing 6 things in common. 1, you're checking them in. 2, bath. 3, drying. 4, some sort of finish work, haircut or de-shedding or whatever, trimming. And then 5, the check out. And then 6, some sort of cleanup, sanitation, management of the physical space around the groom. And so those 6 domains have become their baseline of competency knowledge. Like you should not be able to groom if you don't know what should happen during that check-in process. Right. What kinds of information should you be getting from the owner before you take a live animal into your care? And so, but the great thing is, because the WPA has put significant money, and they are not, they're not going to make this back. This is a good works project of theirs. They've put significant money into hiring professional test writing organizations. These are people that write the SAT and the ACT and all of these standardized tests. They actually get, they remove the bias from the language. They randomize things. They make sure that every word is valid and that it all makes sense. And the process is enormously complex.
Of what you've said, the AKC, not the AKC, I'm sorry, the SATs,
WPA.
ACTs. You've got to be able to pass those tests at a certain level before
to go to college.
You can go and enroll in college. It's part of it. And if the high schools aren't getting you to that point, then they're failing. If your employers or the business owners aren't getting you to the point that you can take these and go take this test and not fail it or be nervous about taking it, then that's just saying we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's coming down to, is we've got to have something like this to make those that go above and beyond to give to give those master groomers and those certified professional groomers and people who put all these certificates on their walls for us to be able to say, that's why.
This is what this means. Yes.
This is why we do this.
And when people take, and I hope everybody does, I think every groomer should take the WPA test when it comes out. The best part about it is that it will lend a level of legal protection to you that you cannot get with anything else. All of the certification programs that we talked about, the big three, those are great credentials recognized within our industry, and they speak to your skill, your actual grooming skill.
But the general public doesn't know about them.
Exactly. And if you had to go to court to prove your competency, that would not stand up in court the way that this WPA test will. The WPA test is actually measured valid by federal standards. And it's the first and only time in the history of our industry. What a huge leap forward. Thank you, WPA. Thank you. Thank you so much, Judy Breton, and now, of course, Chris Berry, for their amazing leadership to get us a real standardized test that means something in law.
And you're going to be going to a high school or a college classroom and taking this test alongside, she said, electricians, along plumbers, real estate agents, lawyers, anybody else who is trying to take their test. As a groomer, you could be sitting next to somebody in those other areas looking to get into those careers to take their tests and their exams as well. And the person running that is doing so many other different tests that it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to give us a level of professionalism.
And when people, and if anybody has test anxiety or didn't do well on standardized testings in high school or something, just know that, of course, any documented learning disability, any documented accessibility issue, anything that, that you would get an accommodation for, somebody that needs to read the test to you, whatever, those accommodations, like any other standardized test, would be made. So Kim is asking.
But the IPG does that too.
Yes, that's true. That's right. IPG does that too.
They're going to help you and do everything possible. Linda did say that also, that it is, we're not here to see you fail. We want to help you. And it's what we do also at our school every day. We have people that come in. It's like, oh my God, I didn't come here to take tests. Oh my God, I didn't come here to read books.
Yeah.
It's part of it. You gotta know your bookwork too. So yes, Kim,
this is real learning. It's real knowledge. And Kim asks, do you believe that the WPA test will be enough? Great question, Kim. I mean, enough.
I don't think it should.
Well, so that's that. Enough for what is obviously the next question. So what the WPA PGC, Pet Grooming Credential, which is a standardized knowledge-only test. It's a multiple choice test that will have, 100 questions, whatever. And it will be valid in those 6 domains that we talked about. And there's 102 competencies that are covered in the guide that you can go to the PGC part of the WPA website, and you can see all of the information that should be covered. And so I think, Kim, the answer to your question is that the WPA PGC credential is the ground floor. It's the baseline. Nobody should every groomer be able to pass it? Yes. I would have serious personally. I'm going to maybe get in trouble for this. But I personally would have trouble with a groomer that couldn't pass it. I would question now if somebody's just a newbie and they're just learning and they're just training and they're still an intern, if you will, that's different. But if you are by yourself grooming and claiming, taking money from people to work on live animals, and if you can't pass The knowledge in this PGC credential, which is the ground floor base knowledge of basic competencies, I would be troubled and by that. And I do think that that's the baseline. And as we go forward, remember the whole reason that this whole movement started was, 15 years ago in New Jersey and in California, these efforts to begin to license groomers, and the response from our industry, oh, geez, we've been an underground industry for decades. We need to come into the light. We need to have some sort of recognized skill, some sort of documentable qualifications. And we started developing our own inside the industry because we needed to. And that's when the PPGSA standards were written, which are marvelous. And now the WPA test, which is actually made for the problem of state licensing. If Illinois comes up tomorrow and says, we're going to start licensing groomers, like I know New Hampshire, right, Dara?
Yeah, they're talking about it here. You got Texas, who's already got one, but we did talk to Andrea there in El Paso, and they are going by El Paso is using NDGAA,
any of the certifiers, right?
ISCC, and
NDGAA, IPG, and ISCC. Yeah. They are actually looking in the city of El Paso, the first place ever in the history of the United States to actually pass a groomer licensing bill.
It's not a license. They have to be registered with the town, and they also have to be certified. Certification through one of those organizations. They required that we, and it actually has to be the physical grooming skill. So IPG, NDGAA, and ISCC certifications where you actually go in and physically test your physical grooming skills are all accepted in the city of El Paso. Yeah, but let's say that they're taking some of the AKC. I believe they're taking that course, the certification. And there was one other. I can't remember what the other one was.
I'm sure that the WPA test, once it's available this summer, will also we'll meet that bar. The thing is, if you are faced with a state effort or a county effort or a city effort to license and regulate bills, and remember, Terry DiMarino has, bless you, Terry, for your leadership in our industry in this, has been telling us, as have all of the great leaders in this industry, been telling us for years, you too, Dara, that, groomer licensing is only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if it's coming to a state or county or city near you. It's a matter of when.
Yeah. And we either need to do it ourselves and regulate ourselves, which we are working towards that with the Master Groomer Council of Best Practices, which that is a big deal. I think, Kim, if you're talking, and somebody else asked about this, but get on board with the Master Groomer Council of Best Practices. You don't have to have a master's. You can be a groomer, but we are discussing all of these things at our monthly meetings of things that we should to be able to take to the states to regulate ourselves. We don't have an organization that regulates overall. Nothing has solidified, nothing has come together. And if we have somebody or some group that's going, okay, we're talking these, we're talking this, now we're going to go to the WPA. Now we're going to go to the ISCC, all these letters. We're going to all these letters and roping them in and getting on board with them. And making our industry something concrete. So we're not concrete.
So let's look to other professions for a moment. And I know we're almost to the end of our hour, but let me just make the comparison as a teacher. I had a teaching certificate that was different than my bachelor's degree and then my master's degree in education. And, I had my bachelor's degree in history and then my master's in history and then my master's in education. I had all the educational classes. I had the diplomas, but that didn't get me legal to teach. I had to have a teaching certificate in the state of Illinois, and it had to do with, continuing ed and all these other, you had to student teach, and you had to, all of these things that you had to do. So there is a process in other fields that are comparable. I think the field that is closest to us is not electricians or lawyers or doctors, but every single one of them, certified public accountants. You can get a degree in accounting, but you're not a CPA until you sit for a standardized test that is run by other accountants. It's it's people within your field measuring your competency. Okay. And for electricians, it's actually a apprentice program where you have to work underneath other electricians, where they physically evaluate and you get to move up in levels. So, and same thing with doctors. You can get a medical degree, you can go to med school and graduate, but until you sit for your boards before your state doctors boards, and there's national boards in medicine as well, until you sit for your boards, you're not a practicing doctor. So you actually have to see the comparability in other fields. But I think the one that's the closest to us is the human hair beauty industry, right? Cosmetology. And they have state certificates. You don't agree? It's similar?
I think we're similar, but the reason I say that is because depending on the state, even the cosmetology boards, they have loose laws themselves.
Every state is different. I was going to say the beauty industry is regulated state by state by state. There's no national.
Right.
No national. And every state is different, and some states are high standards and some are not. That's true.
Right. Yeah. And I can't say, but I'm leaning more towards I don't know, and I guess this is where it'd have to be. Can you practice cosmetology in another state without taking a test? Can you just go in and get your license?
Usually not.
Or do you have to take a test?
Usually you have to, I don't know if they have the transferability like in teaching certificates. Teaching certificates between educators, you can there are some states that will accept some states and not others. It depends on how high the standards are in that state.
And sometimes it depends on the school you go to.
Yes. And the transferability of them would vary.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is with the beauty industry, that people, I think that pretty much every state, they want the money and they want the license to be issued by their state. Mindy says that you have to retest, in every state, Mindy, is that right? So is that Mindy will have to comment about that, whether or not you have to retest in every state. But I do know that
is true. I wasn't sure, but if that is.
So basically, we're still, as an industry, figuring this out, and there's a range of choices. But I think the biggest takeaway of all, if I can, at 7:28 my time, 2 minutes to go in our hour, if I can just say the biggest message of all of this whole month's worth of wonderful programming, thank you, Dara, is that whether you're getting a school diploma, whether you're getting certified by NDGAA, IPG, or ISCC, where you're physically testing your grooming skills, whether you're getting the first legitimately standardized test for baseline competency from WBPA through the PGC testing that will be available for the first time this year, whether you're doing an AKC certificate, SAFE certificate, or a Barclays certificate, or one of the other wonderful certificated programs where you get a certificate acknowledging that you've had a class where there's some specialized level of expertise. Whether no matter what you're doing, get educated. That's the takeaway from all of this.
Yeah.
There are a ton of groomers. I can't even imagine the number, but it's in the tens and tens of thousands of groomers, maybe in the hundreds of thousands. And there's maybe 180,000 groomers in the country. Did I hear something
I think
like that?
We saw that. It was in just last year.
What do you want to bet that more than half, just guessing based on my own anecdotal experience, that more than half of all groomers have never had any of this?
I'm going to say it's a lot more than that.
Maybe more than that.
I am going to push it at a 70, 80%.
Because I think you may be right, and that's what's really
about the size of Groom Expo, and they have that's being the largest show, and their attendance falls 4,000 to 5,000 groomers. That's not a lot of groomers.
Yeah.
That's a small show still in comparison to other industries.
When you think about the number of people that are taking live animals into their care with very sharp tools that they've never read a magazine, they've never gone to a school, they've never gotten certified, they've never gotten any kind of credential, they haven't had any safety sanitation, they haven't had anatomy, they haven't had breed standard, that's why I'm teaching the groomer's guide to purebred dogs and the 15 coat types classes and stuff, because I want people to know that you're actually not supposed to just shave down every single dog and use the same shampoo and the same shave down on every single dog. It's really bad. Our industry is still coming out of the dark ages. And so I guess the best takeaway of this month is change is coming. It's upon us. States are starting to talk about credentialing and requiring us to be certified or credentialed in some way. We have now, thanks to WPA, thanks to IPG, NDGAA, ISCC, thanks to the AKC, thanks to Barkley, thanks to all of the people doing wonderful education programs. We have some good, easy, accessible classes that are certificate classes. And then we have these real tests that you can take that are very accessible and it's something to really be proud of. To be a certified master groomer is a big deal. And it's something to be really proud of. And to be certified as a, in non-sporting or certified as a terrier groomer, that's a really big deal. And to get this WPA credential, this baseline PGC competency test, I can't wait. It's going to be an exciting thing. And I'm looking forward to the day when, and maybe the corporates will lead the way. Maybe Petco, PetSmart, the other corporates, maybe they will lead the way and say, every one of our staff is going to pass that PGC before they can work for us. What a game changer that will be. That
it should be all of us, all of our salons should be saying, you should be able to pass that. We didn't talk about how much it was.
It's $450 to take it, but gosh,
and I think it lasts 3 years. Every 3 years, you have to retake it, and you have to do a certain amount of continuing education units a year. Beyond that, but the point of it is that we finally have a for real credential. I know what the beauticians in Illinois have to pay. They have to pay like $2,000 a year to maintain their state license. That's nothing. It's $50 here in New Hampshire.
I don't know, maybe it's $1,200. I can't remember, but it's a lot. And, you have to retake tests every couple of years as well. So we're going to be like the other industries. I mean, everybody just needs to suck it up, I guess, in the grooming industry and say, look, we're pet ownership. May I plug my article that I'm look to Barkley's Groomer to Groomer magazine in the month of April. Okay. We're here at the end of March. Read April's Groomer to Groomer. I wrote an article. I think it's the most important. Is it your
first one in there?
It's not. It's not my first. Oh, okay. But I think it's the most important one. It's my first as a columnist.
That's what I meant. It's your.
Yes, it's my first as a columnist. But it's called Pandemic Puppies. It's about the whole massive explosion of dog ownership in the United States and what that's going to mean to our industry. There's a shortage of groomers and there is a huge amount of new pet owners. But the more that people have become attentive to the relationship between people and dogs and how important they are, it's becoming very, very big business. And we're going to be regulated, period, end of discussion. So let's get with the program, team.
Yeah.
Groomers are awesome. We can do this.
Wow. This was an intense month.
Yeah, but really so important, Dara.
Thank you
so much
for doing this. This has been really important. I'm just going to click over here because I should have been getting up our next few months of what because we did change things up, and I know we're missing on some Michelle and missing on Melissa. At least I'm not getting their names.
So when while you're pulling up what's coming up ahead, let me just remind everybody that they can go to the Pet Pro Educators on Facebook.
Yep.
Or Groomer's Guide, which is my Facebook group. All Things Paw, which is Michelle Knoll's Facebook group. Mm-hmm. The Oily Groomer, which is Melissa Contadiner's Facebook group, and in the Whole Pet Academy for Dara's Facebook group. Yep. And in all of those Facebook groups, you can get the recordings of these shows, all of the episodes on each of these credential programs going back 4 weeks before tonight. And you can share them widely with people and get people to really sit down and listen to this conversation about what's happening in our industry and what we can do to be better groomers, more educated groomers. Thank you so much, Dara, for making this all possible.
Well, thank you for joining me. It's my pleasure. I enjoy
I love to talk teacher. I'm a totally nerdy teacher. Yes.
I look forward to this. We're going to have some people on coming up too. So we kind of push things out. So next month, which still works pleasantly, we're going to go in with combating allergies.
Oh, neat. So important.
Coming into spring. So we're going to talk skin allergies, nutritional allergies, environmental allergies, maybe some product allergies, and about balancing the skin and coat. So that'll be our topic for April.
I have so many clients that are fragrance allergic. I would love to. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, we're going to do that. So April we're going to go back to you, Jennifer. We're going to talk about grooming each individual, some of the more common, because it's hard to get all your 15 coats in. But I think if we can break it down, that we can do some mini segments on grooming.
Like fur versus hair is a good place to start.
Okay, so I'll get with you on that, but that'll be our May. And then going into June, we're going to talk about growing your feline business.
Ooh, neat.
So that's our up and coming months. And every week we'll have a different topic within that topic.
Mindy, you're coming to Chicago? Facebook me.
Oh, she is. Yes, she's going with the family.
Oh,
they're going to be there.
We must. Let me at least tell you where to get the best deep dish pizza and the best Chicago style hot dog.
Ooh, hot dogs. Like street hot dogs?
Well, Chicago has a very special style.
And what kind of style is that?
Well, they put celery salt and pickle slices and little itty bitty baby peppers and mustard, and
interesting.
It's really tasty.
Celery
the Chicago
salt.
Style hot dog is really tasty.
I'm going to try that. All right.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Very good. Well, if anyone has any questions, I will go on and post all of these links once again. And actually, maybe I should do that right now before we sign off, so that all the links, you're going to have to give me a minute here.
Okay. Tomatoes, sport, peppers, no ketchup. Mindy, is that your favorite hot dog? I love that. That's great. Celery salt. Yeah, these are the things that make a Chicago style hot dog. The sport peppers, a chunk of tomato, celery salt, mustard, relish, poppy seed bun, and no ketchup. That is it. That is the Chicago style hot dog. Thank you, Caitlin. Yay.
Wow, right. Interesting. All right. It's going to take me too long to find all these websites. So I will go on and I will post them all once again in the Pet Pro Educators, because that's where we're at the most. So,
yes.
And a pickle. Gotta have the pickles. It's all about the pickles.
Yep.
Is it a dill pickle or a sweet pickle?
Yes, dill. Yeah.
Dill, because I don't like relish. So is relish?
You can do the slice of the dill pickle. Yeah. Okay. Chicago style hot dog, Dara.
There it is. There it is. All right. Well, when I come to Chicago,
and when I come to you, you're clam chowder, right?
Yeah, and lobster.
Clam chowder.
And chowder and lobster. That would be it.
Lobster.
Oh gosh, it's really hard to live in New Hampshire and have lobster at your fingertips all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, it's awful. I just can't tell you how terrible it is. I think I have it once or twice a week, usually.
I love lobster. And my mouth is watering now. I'm going to have to go and eat
if I
some
could
lobster
send it
bisque
to you, I
soup.
will.
I have some lobster bisque soup in my refrigerator. I'm going to have to go have some right now.
There you go. Yeah, Mindy,
Thanks.
when she was here, have her send you the picture of the lobster feast we had when she was here last year. Oh. We did that one up.
I'm going to have to go out and eat at Red Lobster or something.
This past time we didn't get to do that, Mindy. So in June or July when you come back, we'll do it again.
All right, Mindy, Facebook me.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next week. And our first one, talking about the allergy. Ooh, skin allergies. Couldn't be better timing. I think Michelle is going to be taking the lead on this one.
On credentials and certificates and stuff. Very, very good.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Thanks for joining.
Bye, everybody.